everyone.
G'day.
Welcome back to our next video in our fence build.
Alright guys, so here's a half finished drawing of the concept of the house, showing the fence and how that's going to look from the front. To build this fence we had to move a hell of a lot of bricks, and more than once. So I found these bricks on Marketplace and they were local, and I went and picked them up, and the guy charged us $100 for about 700 bricks. So we loaded them up, we brought them home, we stacked them here, and I did 3 trips to get them all. Luckily Julie was around for half of that to give me a hand, and yeah, it's got us most of the way. I have recently purchased another 400 bricks. I'm just getting them from the landscape place so I don't have to do any more trips with the ute. So yeah, all up it's going to cost us $500 for 1,000 bricks, so can't complain with that, I don't think. So before we could get into laying any bricks, I still had more footings to do. So Julie wasn't available to help me because she was at work, and I got stuck in and tried to get all this footing done in one go. So this day was a pretty busy day. I did several trips to get more supplies. The sand and gravel there I did run out of twice, and from memory the cement I did have plenty of bags right from the start, so yeah, I managed okay. So I screwed this off just with my little tapping method and threw my rods in. Now these rods on either side of the gates for the driveway had the long rods on them. The other ones just had the shorter rods, as they weren't going to be supporting the weight of a gate. So yeah, I just thought I'd give it the longer rods just to give it more strength. So yeah, many an hour mixing concrete. So it actually wasn't too bad, you know, once you get a routine and you just keep going round and round. It's it's constant, but you get things done fairly quickly as well. So yeah, I didn't mind doing this bit of concreting. We'll see how we go when we get to the shed, because I have to do the slab for the shed, as I'm building the shed out of timber, and I've got to build the slab first. So I'll see how we go. That's going to be quite a few more days of mixing concrete, but yeah, I think it'll go okay. Might try and call the help of some friends to help out a little bit, but I'll do that square by square. So just working my way around. Now these footings, I've got some good thick stakes into the ground, so I didn't have to be too careful, and I wanted to make sure that this was strong, because you can easily bump into it with the wheelbarrow. Like when you're tipping it up to tip the concrete in, you can easily bump it, so you want this strong. So that's why I went with the 90 by 35 framing material for the formwork, and I just cut down some of the 90 by 45 into 35 by 35 to make the stakes. So all done now. Starting to take away some of the formwork, so there was just a heap of screws. Of course the screws got covered in some of the concrete that dripped over the edges, so that was a bit of a pain to do, but wasn't too bad. So this was quite a I think it's quite a accomplishment getting this footing done, because you can't do anything until the footings are done, and being able to just bog in and get it all done. So now that the footings are all done, we can start doing the bricking at last. So this was the weekend. Cooper was here and he was in bed early in the morning, and I was keen to get into it, so I started. And I think he must have heard the sound of the trowel, because he was keen to get in and help, and you'll see him pop up in a minute. You go, oh hey, you're bricklaying. So anyway, I was just getting a start. Here he comes. So yeah, he must have heard it, and he really wanted to help me with this. So as always, I was more than happy for him to give me a hand, and I really appreciated the help. So kind of just watched me for a bit, and you know, I was just getting the feel. I haven't done bricklaying in so many years, probably would be, at a guess, probably 20 years since I last did any bricklaying, so I had to kind of just work my way back into it. But I knew that once I warmed up to the techniques, I would be okay to get this job done. So yeah, just one thing I did have learnt is get that mud down as even as possible, and make sure that the mud isn't too stiff. When it's stiff, it just makes everything hard. So I did figure out, lay the mud all the way around that pier, and you'll see later on in the video I started putting all the bricks down, then I came back and leveled them, and I worked into a really good technique of laying the bricks in and kind of leveling them by eye, and then they didn't need a lot of work with the level. So here we go, Coop's now getting back into it, or getting into it I should say, and I said, why don't you just run these bricks all the way down that panel part of the footing, and had to give him a few tips and what I wanted him to do. But Cooper went to a technical college, and he actually learnt bricklaying not long ago, so he kind of already had a good idea of what he had to do. So I was just watching and making sure, but I was letting him basically just do it all himself, because I knew that he'd been shown the correct way to do stuff, and I didn't want to step on his toes and make him feel like he's no good. So I just helped him out with the levels of, you know, really it's a matter of getting across to Cooper what idea I had for this fence and how it needed to be. As far as the bricklaying goes, he was capable of doing that. So I powered on. It takes quite a bit of time to do one row, to do each row on a pier. It's not a 5-second job. I went out and bought a couple of new levels, so I got a few different size levels. And I must say, Cooper was out there with me all day doing this, and he stuck at it right until the very end. And you could see he was getting a bit fed up because he was struggling to get the levels right. But and the plumb of the pier once he starts on the pier a bit later. But he stuck at it. He didn't give up, so I was really proud of him for that. So you can see he's done quite a good job just with laying them down. So that gave me confidence that, alright, you can go to the next step and do a pier. So just telling him how the bricks have to lock into the pier so that it's all tied in together for strength, and how to start off, and then he just went row for row as I was. And you can see why I ended up with no skin on my fingers. There's quite a few bricks that I had to pick up and move around on this day. I tell you what, I really did learn that lesson, because it's not pleasant having no skin on your fingertips. So we had the mixer running while we were doing the batch that was in the wheelbarrow. We had the next batch mixing, and that mixed for probably, I don't know, 45 minutes, and it stayed wet, and you know, we didn't end up, we worked about the right pace, I think. But if we worked faster, we still would have had the mud ready to go, so it didn't hurt it to mix for a bit longer. I was a bit too worried about my tools getting all cement on them to start with, I think, and so I had my hands in the lime a lot, which didn't help things. It's actually quite surprising how quick the mortar firms up. You get 2 rows up and that 3 rows down is already stiff, and you know, you can barely move the bricks. So there was a couple of bricks here and there that were proud that I had to tap in, and I had to really hit at them just to get them to move a few mil. So you don't really want to be disturbing it when it's in that intermediate time of going off, but it's better than it being all making my rendering hard work. So I thought I'd start on the next pier, seeing as that first pier got a bit too high and I didn't have my trestles to be able to stand up and do the next few layers, so started on the next pier. So, and then that was all we got done with me and Cooper for the day, but thanks very much, Coop. So just cleaning up the yard a bit, we're getting rid of all the old formwork, clear up the space so we can run the wheelbarrows around. You accumulate a lot of bits of rubbish doing this sort of work. So now to make up a frame for where the panel's going in between the piers. So for the frame I went and got some treated pine, and I'm using galvanised, they're not galvanised nails, but what I did was I put one nail in these studs just to hold them in place, and then I came back and I put a galvanised bugle held bolt top and bottom to give it strength. So that slipped into place, and yeah, I then had to figure out how I was going to do all the blue board, but the framework was the first step. I did have to end up cutting that top plate off because the curve that I wanted, I didn't want it to be too high. So I screwed this in place with some galvanised screws and some green plugs, and then I came back to this job a bit later on to do the blue board. So now it was Julie's turn to get in and help me with the bricklaying. So once again I showed her how to lay the mud and how to put the bricks down, and yeah, we just worked round and round and round. We went laying mud, putting the bricks down, levelling, laying mud, putting the bricks on, levelling, and we just kept going for hours. So Julie was a really big help. She cleaned up, so once the bricks went on she scraped off the excess and I was able to then level, and then she scraped off any more excess, and then we started laying mud again. So we got that little bit of the wall done. That was once again a bit of a practice. Now it's really hot when we were doing this, so the cold water out of the hose kept us going all day and stopped us from overheating, so that was a bit of fun. Cold water down the back. Yeah, I'll have a bit more of that. So yeah, here we go again. So laying the mud, and yeah, once again we had to keep the mud fresh. It did start to stiff up because we were going a little bit slower than, you know, we're not experts at this, so when it got a bit too stiff I just threw it down inside the piers, and then we'll top them up with concrete at a later date. So this is the pier that's going to have the letterbox in it. So you can see there we've started to leave a box opening for the letters. So we had to go around in a U. And that was another challenge. It's actually easy if you're just doing a full pier with bricks all the way around without the gap. But you just got to be careful and level everything as best you can. So I just adjusted where the conduit was on the bit of Rio just so that we had a clear run to pick the letters up. So yeah, we're doing another row, and when we get high enough, I didn't get footage of it. We used to strip a blue board for a lintel for the pier to continue on with its full enclosed sides. So we just worked our way up. We left the letterbox slot at the front, and yeah, I'll have a big door on the back there. I only know one Berlin song from Top Gun, and all of their songs rock.
There's a photo. I hope you can see that.
I can add it in later.
Okay.
Yeah.
But then we got that one as well.
You might be a bit too close.
Oh.
I'll add it in.
Okay. All right.
So yeah, that was a good night. So we went in on the red carpet, and we went into like a disco and had a DJ.
Oh my god, it was like being in a nightclub.
You know, like it was a bunch of all us 50-year-olds in there, and that is trying to get people excited and with energy, and all of us are probably just thinking, as soon as it's over, I'm home and I'm in bed.
We're going to bed.
But no, that was cool. It was a nice atmosphere. Sort of got people up dancing and stuff, and we had a free drink, and then I think my first ever Bundy and Coke can. Oh, disgusting. I had one sip, and I said to Julie, I'm not drinking this. She goes, well, give it to me. I don't
horrible,
like it.
But I drank them.
And I went and got one of these, got our Coopers, and then we people started running out, and we're like, where are they going? is that the scum that have just got what was the other one that
it was just a cocktail
party.
Yeah.
We thought, that's the cocktail party people leaving. No, that was the people going around for the photos. So we're like, come on, let's go.
Yeah.
And we were in the middle. There was a lot of people that were staying, enjoying the party, and so we went around, and so funny seeing people that there were people in the audience or in the queue that were in tears. There was loud people that were over the top loud, and then when we got into Boy George, they were like, ooh, the tears. And it was crazy.
Was so lovely.
It was such an experience.
So lovely.
It was well worth the money for the experience. These tickets weren't cheap.
No, they weren't. And we kind of bought them on a few too many drinks night.
Yeah, and we're probably like a fair few drinks into the night as well. But yeah, it was worth the money. We don't go out much. We spend most of our time at home working on the house, and enjoying each other's company and going to the occasional family thing. But it was a night out that we haven't had a night out like that for how long?
Oh, ages.
A long time.
A long time.
A long time. So it was well worth the money. We had a great night, and meeting Boy George was an experience. And
he's very tall.
Well, if you look at the photos, he's about my height, but with the hat.
Oh yeah, he did have. Yeah.
He's about another foot with the hat.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's our Boy George night, our culture
club experience.
Yeah, which was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And so that's about all we've been up to.
It is, and work. That's really it. Work.
All right, I'll tell you now. I did have a quick little talk about it earlier. My fingers, you probably can't see them. I took all of the skin off all of my fingers, down several layers of skin, so it was red raw, doing this bricklaying. And the stupid thing is, I'm being all gung-ho, let's get this, see how far I can go today. Didn't notice till the last brick I put down, all my fingers are a bit sore, might call that it. Too late. So lost all the skin off my fingers, spent all week, which is why I didn't manage to get a video out to you last week. I apologise for that. I did try, but there just wasn't enough. I didn't have enough footage to put a video together for you, so this week I've been back into it slowly as the week's gone on. My fingers have gotten better and better. I've had band-aids. I put super glue on the spots that were like taking chunks out, and then wrapped some nice thick band-aids around, and I worked like that all week. And now we've got these gloves, and yeah,
they are looking so much better.
These ones here are the bad ones.
Yeah, that's a little bit,
yeah.
No.
So anyway, yeah, a lesson to everyone out there: don't be like me and be too gung-ho and go, oh, I like the feel of the bricks better, I can control and feel what I'm doing. No, after a day of bricklaying, you have no skin left on your fingers.
Nope.
So another couple of rows. It was starting to get a bit high, and it was getting a bit late. We were getting a bit tired, so we just thought we'd just use up the rest of the mud we had mixed up in the wheelbarrow and go as far as we can. So we put another couple of rows. So at least we had all the letterbox slot taken care of with the lintels and the fully enclosed sides continuing up from there. So now to give you a bit of a sneak peek on what's happening with the panel and the top of the panel. So on top of the piers, there's a little pyramid type shaped capping that's going on there, and I wanted the panel to match it. So I put all these strips of blue board around and leaving it in from the edge a little bit of the piers, and I used my polystyrene that you already know that I love, because it bends easy, and I put that on to build up the thickness of the capping. So now I'm just cutting the pieces for the capping. So worked out that 215, it was 400 wide, and if I made the pieces 215, that would give it just the right enough rake on the top of the capping. So that sort of seemed to work out good. It was just a bit of a eyeball of what I liked. I could have made it a bit less or a bit more quite easily. So cutting all the pieces, these are all slightly angled. Worked out that they needed to be 3 degrees angled, so because of the curve, so that they all don't leave a gap. But I did end up with a few gaps, but this will all be rendered, so not a big deal. So bit of trial and error at the start of how I was going to fix these things on, but I figured that out, and I got some clamps and figured out they needed to be clamped. I think I'll get a bigger clamp and clamp it from side to side when I finish it off, so I'll be doing that during the week, but for the meantime I just did it like this, and that worked. So it's going to be a really cool curved peaked capping. It's quite a tricky thing, that if you were making it out of solid like bricks and render, it would be really hard to do, I think. So getting the main panel nailed in now with plenty of liquid nails. So that was starting to take shape now, and yeah, it's pretty cool when things start to take shape. So now fill in this little corner with a chamfer of, so I just liquid nailed that in, and I'll get to rendering that quite soon. Alright guys, thought I'd just give you a bit of a show around what we've managed to get done. So it's getting hot again, and I don't plan on doing any bricklaying. I've got to go into work tonight, so I'll show you where we're up to. So we've got that bit of fence coming along there. I've started to do the capping on the top. Over here I've got the capping of the pier, so I've got a heap of them, more of them to make obviously. And then where the panel is, the inset panel here, see I've got the chamfer around there. So once that's all rendered, it'll all look like one. You won't know that that's blue board in there. And then there'll be some moulding underneath that curve, and the same moulding will go around underneath that top capping for there. So I've got the bolts sticking out here, there and down there for the gate, and I've got my letterbox. So I got my letterbox for the door there, and I've got my little slot here. I'll show you the letterbox flap in a minute. I've got my cables coming out there for my coach lights, and we've started to work our way along to the next section here. So yeah, we'll continue on with this bit by bit. There's quite a bit of bricklaying to do, and I like to be accurate, so it's slow going, but we're enjoying it and it's looking really good. So I'll just stand back here, give you another look at the overall of it. So once that all goes all the way across there with the electric gates over there, I think that's going to look really nice. And when it comes down into here where the carport starts on that end pier, so we've got a nice big driveway there. So yeah, well, I'll put together everything I can for you for this video, and it's not a detailed job that I can finish off quickly to have a start and finish in each video. So we'll keep chipping along and I'll show you the progress in each video with the jobs that I'm doing, but I will be focusing on this fence mainly. So stay tuned for the next video and you'll see some more of this fence getting done. And if you like the content, don't forget to subscribe and hit that thumbs up and leave me a comment. Tell me what you think of the design of the fence, if you like the idea of the letterbox and the coach lights and all that kind of stuff. I look forward to getting the next video out to you soon. Thanks guys, cheers.